Hey everybody, Big Viking here. So recently on some of my videos, I have been getting questions on how to use a baitcaster. Um, I use a lot of baitcasters in my stuff, both catfishing, bass fishing. Um, all of it's kind of the same. All of it kind of has the same principles. But nevertheless, I had a live last week that some people were really asking about it, so I done a little bit of stuff on there. But I wanted to make you guys a full video of how I set up my bait casters. And I got a couple different kinds to show you. So, bait casters generally have two different kinds. And when I say two different kinds, I meant how they break. This bait caster here only has one break on it, and that is just the spool tension. The rest of it is up to you to use your thumb on breaking it. And it does have a break in the spool when it casts, but it's still up to you for the tension and controlling it with your thumb. This one, this Abu here, has both a spool tensioner, but it has a magnetic brake adjustment on the side of it. So you can adjust the magnetics on it to slow your spool down or speed your spool up. Both have their pros and cons. I would say if you want a smoother cast, a smoother spool, the one without the magnetic brake is going to give you a smoother spool. But at the same time, I would say these are for more advanced people with bait casters, because you have to know how to use your thumb on the spool to spool the spooler, or you're going to get the backlash that everybody hates. So setting them up, you're going to be doing basically starting off the same way. When you get one out of the box and you get it all set up, you get it on a rod, and you get your string and everything on it, you have to adjust each one of these for the lure that you're trying to use. And you will, if you change the lure, you will have to adjust again, depending on the weight of your lure. This is what controls how you set this. So, what you want to do, and what I would suggest doing, is when you get your new bait caster, your new rod, you get your line on it, you're like, okay, I want to throw this on it. I want to throw this little white swim bait here, the little blade on it, great for bass, white bass, lots of things will hit this. Skipjack. I've caught big crappie on little swim baits like this. Great little universal bait. So what I need to do is I need to set my reel and my spool tension to the weight of that bait. And it's not very hard to do. Excuse me here. This little knob here is your spool tensioner. And the way it works is it kind of like tightens and puts pressure on the spool. Like, think of it as slightly squeezes it. And that's what keeps it from, that's what will slow it down when you make that cast. So when you get one out of the box, who knows what it'll be. I'm just going to like randomly just mess with mine. And I got this. I'm going to hold my rod here. I've got my bait just a few inches from the tip of my rod. And I'm going to come in here close so you can see it. I'm going to hold my pole just horizontal here, and I'm going to let loose. Okay, so if you've seen, when that bait hit the floor, the spool kept spinning, and we started to get what would be the start of a backlash if you made a cast. So what I want to do is I'm going to pull that line out. I'm going to get rid of that loose line. I'm going to reel it back up. I'm kind of doing this backwards here for the camera. I'm going to reel it up. I'm going to tighten my spool tension. And then I'm going to do it again. Again, I got the bait just a couple inches from the tip. I'm going to hold it at just kind of a horizontal, just flat. And I'm going to hit it. And if you noticed, it still did it. When that bait hit the ground, that spool just kept spinning. So I'm going to pull out that extra line that it spun out. I'm going to tighten again. 2 or 3 more clicks. That was about 4 right there. Again, bait's a couple inches from the tip. Okay, see? Did it again. Actually, I did it a lot that time. So I went 6 clicks this time, tightening it, because I backed it off way backed it off. Okay, still getting there. And again, this is what you got to do with a new reel. Okay, I twisted it pretty good that time. And one more time. Okay, now we're starting to get there. That had hardly any looseness out of that when it hit the ground. Like this, now is when I'm going to start going into 1 or 2 clicks. 2 clicks. It's very slowly letting out. It touched the ground and the spool stopped. That was a little slow on the drop, so I'm going to back it off 1 click. That 1 click makes a big difference on one of these that doesn't have that magnetic adjuster on it. But at the same time, you don't want it too tight that you're having to fight it. You want it to be able to cast and cast smoothly, because this right here is your ultimate break. So I'm going to let go. Yeah, I would leave it there. I cast with my right hand. Boom. As soon as it hit the ground, I dropped pressure down on the spool and stopped it. To me, I would leave it right here. I wouldn't adjust this reel any further until I got to the water. And especially with a new reel, it's got to get broke in. You're going to get backlashes on it. Don't get frustrated if you got a brand new reel and you have to fiddle with it a little bit. Just like anything brand new, it can be stiff. It needs to be worked in. It's a brand new reel. It needs a good, 50-60 cast to start getting those bearings loosened up and everything kind of working right. Then we go over here to this Black Max. And if you are new to baitcasters or you're not really experienced, I would suggest a reel like this that has the tension and the magnetic. And also, I would recommend one of these reels if you are changing your baits a lot. Because every time you change your bait, if it's a drastic from that, if I was to take that little swim bait off and put on like a big crankbait or like this big whopper plopper, I would need to readjust that because that would be much heavier than what that is. So you have to adjust it then. If you're changing baits a lot, having the magnetic brake will help you. And the reason why that is because we can kind of get it set here and then easily adjust it here. So say you get your spool kind of set, or maybe just a smidge loose, and then you just crank up your magnetic brake over here for heavier baits. So it's a quick adjust versus a tension adjust. But it works the exact same way. I'm going to drop the mag magnetic brake here all the way off. Wrong way. Okay, magnetic brake is completely off. From here, we're going to do the same thing. I just backed off my tensioner. We're going to hit the thing, and when it hits the ground, we want it to stop. When it hits the ground, we want it to stop. See, it started to go over again. And once you get it to that point, just like we did this one, where it stops, then we can start adjusting our mag. You just go a couple clicks. See? It went over just a little bit, but we're close. 3 more clicks. Went over just a little bit. Okay. So I've adjusted that twice and it's still doing it. I'm going to give it just a little more tension. And now we're going to try it again. Still went over just a little bit. Not bad. Give it a little bit more tension. Almost there. Give it just a little bit more tension. Okay, we're all but there now. I'm going to give it another click on the magnetic brake. 2 clicks actually. Perfect. This ready to go to the river, lake, pond, whatever you fish. And then from there, if you start casting it, you need to get a little further out there, and you start getting a little more confident. You know, thumbing your spool and controlling it with your thumb. Start backing your stuff off little by little. The more you do it, the more you're going to get more thumb control, and you're not going to need the brakes and stuff as much because you're going to be able to control it on your own. And once you master controlling it on your own is when you can make those really long super casts out there and get out away from the bank, out on cover if you're a bank fisherman like me. That's where the Baitcaster shines, is being able to get them banks way out there where you normally can't get to. So yeah, it's just a practice makes perfect. Don't give up, because if you are new to baitcasters, it is going to be very frustrating. These are more, I would say, more of an advanced type of reel. But once you start learning how to cast this, you can cast anything. Doesn't matter what kind of baitcaster it is either. Whether it be for bass fishing, cat fishing. Once you learn how to manage that spool with your thumb and know how to set your spool tensions and your brakes, you can cast them. Keep at it. If you're wanting to try to get into baitcasters, but you don't want to sink the money because they are a little bit more expensive, this is an $80 reel. I mean, this rod and reel setup is about $130 or so. They can be a little more expensive. This one, a little cheaper setup. That's only because I found this rod at Academy for clearance for $10. 7'6" rod. It's 15 to 25 pound line, all the way up to 1.5 ounce weights. So I use this for bigger baits, for slinging big whopper ploppers or big deep divers. This is the rod I go to. But if you're interested in getting into baitcasters and stuff, but you don't want to sink a bunch of money into it, there are cheaper options. Like this guy right here. I'm not making money telling you about this. They sent me this rod and reel setup to try out and review, and I put a review out for them. This is a good little reel. This rod and reel little setup is like 25 to 30 bucks. Is it as good as these other two? No, not even close. Not even close. But for someone that wants to try out one, this is a really good little option. Like I said, it's nowhere near as good, but I'm keeping this. This is going to go on my backpack for when I go into some rough places. I've got a couple of collapsible poles. One's a spinner pole, one's this, and I climb down into some really rough areas. This can strap right to my backpack, and I have hands free to climb in and out of these places. So, you know, look for, you can find cheaper options that will be good, especially for beginners or someone that just wants to try it. You can find this one on my showcase. I have it listed there just because they sent it to me. I tried it. I've actually fished with it. It does pretty good. It's not my go-to because I've got some really nice ones, but this is a great little first-timer, or you want to a first-timing bait casting reel and rod. This would be a great little option to try. And if you break it, because I broke my first 2 Baitcasters. When I first started learning, I went through 2 Baitcasters. Stripped the gears out of both of them. They were cheaper ones, but once I learned on those cheaper ones, when I spent the money to get a good one, it was so much easier because I had went through all my struggles on those cheap ones, and when I got that good reel, that good Abu Garcia there, and then I bought another Abu Garcia there. Once I started buying better reels, it was so much easier and so much nicer to fish with. But this would be a good starter reel and rod combination. Hope you all learned something there. Again, these are just how I do it. You'll talk to a lot of people. They do it differently. Don't say one's better than the other. Everybody has their own thing. This is stuff for you to try out. Get more familiar with your gear. And ultimately, you gotta learn what works best for you. But these are how I set my reels. So hopefully that'll help somebody out there. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate all the support. If you could, like, subscribe, share it out on YouTube. Hit that little bell notifications, trying to grow my followers. Y'all have been amazing. Follow me over on TikTok and all of my other social medias. Thank you all, and you all have a good one.